It's time for an updated tour of the Awesome Rolling Toolbox. Okay, I know the name Awesome Rolling Toolbox is maybe a bit silly, but I'm trying to provide a perspective, an aperture to consider what this means for working contractors as well as do-it-yourselfers, and how some of these ideas can even be implemented in a garage. This Awesome Rolling Toolbox, this tool trailer, has been well documented on YouTube. I made videos from acquisition of the trailer through designing it and completely building it out. Subsequently, I did a series of videos on leaning it out, making it better than it was after use, time in the field, of figuring out individual projects that I could do to make the trailer better for my workflow. And I've gotten quite a ways with that. Doesn't mean that it's 100% done. I don't think that's possible. There's always room for improvement. It's reached a point where things have changed enough that I think it's time to do a complete tour. One of the things that's changed is that I have switched from my two DeWalt table saws, which were stored up in the cabinet to the right, and have gone to the much larger, heavier SawStop job site saws. So I have two of those, and I keep those in the aisle on their gravity stands, which I use and put in front of my benches instead of hanging them off my benches. And I do that because, not because I'm afraid of hanging them off the bench, but because they're heavy and big, and I just want the advantage of the wheels. I may change that in the future, but for now I like how it's working. And I also have my hand truck and my garbage bins in the middle as well. So when I arrive at a job, the first thing I do, regardless if I'm using any of that stuff, is to move it out so that I have full access to the trailer. One of the guidelines that I adhere to is to minimize any kind of tie downs or lockdowns. I want my tools to be in the trailer, ready to use. I want them to stay in place. I don't want them to fall out in transit, but I want to use passive restraints as much as possible. With things in the aisle on wheels, when I'm driving, they can slide a bit. So I wanted to come up with just a quick, simple way to keep things from moving. And I simply took a piece of 1/2-inch plywood, cut to the length I needed, and just slide it right into the top of the cabinets on both sides, and that just keeps anything from coming back. The only other hold down that I use, and I'm not sure that I need it, is my two-part workbench, which fits up here. The bottom of the first piece, it can't go anywhere. It's got a little lip here I lift over, and the ramp door is closed. The upper one doesn't have anything, so I just use a clamp that I carry with me anyway and store the clamp here, and that just clamps the upper to the lower. So I have to remove this to pull the bench out. So once that clamp is off and that piece of plywood is removed, everything else in the trailer is unlocked and ready to go. An answer to a question that I get over and over is, do things fall out? What do you do when you're going and bumping down the road? This trailer it's fairly new, but it's been used a lot, and not a single tool has fallen or even moved in transit. But in addition to this trailer, I've had multiple other trailers and utilized these same techniques, and to date, I've never had a tool fall out of any of the areas that it's stored in, and yet not a single tool is tied down or locked down in any way. I can put my hand on any tool and pull it out. And for my workflow, for efficiency, for being lean, I find that to be very important. So I have my hand truck, which I find useful for moving cabinets and any number of things that are heavy that I want to move around. They're big pneumatic wheels, so I can go over any kind of surface. As well as carrying a couple of garbage cans, which I put liners in. When I'm on the job, number one is keeping the job organized and clean so that when my customers are around, they are satisfied with how things are coming along. And it really addresses a lot of issues. It's one of the best PR things I've found out that I can do. If the job is messy, tools are spread around, setting on countertops, if there's sawdust and dirt everywhere, if you're tracking in, they become more and more critical of the work. And even if it's top quality work, they wonder if it really can be if you're messy and disorganized. So part of all of this, having the tools clean and be presentable to your clients and organized, it adds to your credibility, it adds to your professionalism, and you'll find that you can make what you need to make. You're not going to be challenged on your charges because they see you're efficient, they see you're organized, you're very professional, but they'll also freely share your name with others. My work comes almost exclusively from referrals. So without any exhaustion, putting out any energy, I can easily move the stuff out of the aisle in well under a minute, have it set aside, and now I have full access to the rest of my tools. If I'm on a job and I'm going to set up the full shop, typically I'm on that job for more than a day, so the setup time is leveraged over multiple days. I set it up once, leave it set up. At the end of the job, then I tear it all down, store it in the trailer, and move on to the next job. My primary tools that I use on just about every job are my workbenches. The first bench that comes out on every job is the total station. This holds my miter saw, as well as it's a table saw outfeed, and it's a router bench. Everything to do with this bench is stored within the bench. So it's a 3 by 6 by 10 inch, and everything, the supports and the extensions are all housed in that space, and I'm able to just slide it out and set it up on the job. I always park near where I work. For workflow and efficiency, it's essential. So I am almost always, I would say 75% of the time, backed up to the garage, close to the door, with the ramp door closed. I open the garage door and put the ramp down. At the end of the day, I'm able to close, lock the trailer, put the garage down, and leave it there for the next day. My big tools, miter saw, table saw, those things are set up either in the garage or in the house, and they don't get repacked at the end of each day. I will pick up the small tools, put them back in, and they have a better chance of walking off. The big stuff is in a house, it's locked, and it doesn't, the little bit of risk that I take by leaving them out in the area that I work, it's worth it. And most of the time I'm working in an occupied house these days. I'm doing less new construction and more remodeling, so the people are usually living there and at home. So I have a pretty easy time of sleeping at night, not worrying that somebody's gonna get my tools. The upper workbench, this one comes out, it's the second bench that comes out when I need more assembly space or I'm cutting plywood or things like that. This operates as a big workbench, it's an additional router bench, and it's also a great table saw outfeed. And when I'm doing cutting of plywood and such with my track saw, everything is done on this. It's also a good assembly bench when I'm doing larger projects, like if I'm building bookcases or I'm doing a mantle. In this storage area, in addition to the workbench, I have a couple of sawhorses, just generic ones for typically when I'm doing framing and siding. I'll have those out. And then the horses that support the workbench. And then in the very front, I'm not going to pull these out at this moment, but I have my Blum mini press. That's my machine for drilling multi 5mm holes for shelf pins and cabinet hardware when I'm building, again, bookcases or some custom cabinets. I don't do production cabinetry anymore. I had a cabinet shop in the past. I've decided to go with a mobile wood shop. And again, this is my wood shop, not the space that I'm in here. This is a borrowed space. When this space is gone, I'll have another space. But primarily my workshop is a homeowner's home, garage, with my trailer there, my rolling tool room. It's a tool pantry, a rolling toolbox, whatever you want to call it. It's not a shop, but it is all my tools and all my shop is in it to be set up. In this area here, I have my Craig pocket hole machine. I do lots of pocket holing, so having this machine with me, it's lightweight, easy to carry. I have an empty tool bag here. This is what I use in lieu of toolboxes for small tools. When I have to put together a kit to go into the house, I'll use this, and I'll go back and forth. At the end of the day, I'll usually have multiple bags filled up, so I will fill the bag once, bring it in, put the stuff away, go back in, bring more out. So it's how I transport my smaller tools. I do have the drawers that pull out, and they act as toolboxes as well. If I'm going to take in all of my drill bits, for example, I can just pull the entire drawer out and carry it in. And I've had people comment on this that I should put handles on the side, but I find it just as easy to grab underneath, and I'm grabbed on the side, so it's pretty easy to put it right back where it goes. The Awesome Rolling Toolbox tour ended up being a lot longer than I had expected, as I added in a bunch of dialogue concerning my work philosophy. So I'm going to end it here, and it'll be a 3-part video series. So be sure to watch for part 2 and also then part 3. And I'll put links to these videos that'll take you right to the next one once they're all published. If you want a set of workbench plans, click on the link right here in the video. If you like these videos, be sure to give them a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. And please share the videos with others. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Have a great day.